What's good, YouTube? It's the Baker. Going to be going over a public group point of view of playing Trinity for Eidolons. Now we'll be going over some of the mechanics you see and just different things that you're going to want to do during the run. It's not going to be a min-maxing perspective in a full aspect in the way of full group min-maxing, but it's going to be a way for you to min-max yourself as Trinity. So when you go ahead and start out the mission, when you load in, you'll immediately, of course, drop your Arcwing for this and head out and find a lure. You'll want to immediately take that one lure that you grab and go and find Vomulist. You'll need 3 Vomulist in order to charge a lure 100%. It'll turn from a yellow indicator like you can see there on the bottom left of my screen, and as you're about to see here when I hack this one. After that yellow turns to a blue, like I said, it'll mean that they're charged. You can then from that point on go and collect the other lures that you need. You won't need to worry about charging those lures, so just freely grab them. If you do see a teammate of yours charges a lure before you do, then immediately stop yourself from grabbing lure or looking for VOMs and go and grab the lures. You can take a choice here on what you want to do for one of 2 things. You can either grab just enough lures, which would be a total of 3 lures between the one person that had that charge one and the 2 that you could grab, in order to make it so that you have enough to start off the next Eidolon with, because you will need 2 lures for the first one, as each of his limbs are held on by 2 lures after you charge them, so that he doesn't port away, and when you kill him you can actually have a capture. Or you can go grab all the lures that you'll need, which if one person has 1 lure, you will need a total of 7 lures then for the rest of the Eidolons altogether. So for between the first one you'll need 2, the second one you're going to need 3, and the third one you're going to need 3, which adds you up to 8. Now afterwards, as soon as you roll in, you're going to start out with the Sarpra. Communicate with your group and let them know that you are using the Sarpra and no one else do it, please. Because if you do strip his armor 100%, and if you go over 6 shots of Sarpra, you will strip his armor 100%. You will do less damage with your weapons on the limbs and the head, as you will strip all of his alloy armor and just leave robotic, which only has a 25% weakness compared to a 75% weakness to radiation damage. So it is one of those few situations, well, not really few, there's many situations when it comes to min-maxing in Warframe where you don't want to strip all the armor, but instead you want to just take off most of it. Now, after you destroy every limb, you'll see he does that pulsing effect. You'll want to be in your void form for that immediately, otherwise you will take magnetic damage. When he does that stomp with his foot that you just saw there, he will do a pulse effect that will knock people back, and if you're too close, it may just kill you. As you can see, I immediately died in my Tenno form from that. Now, he also does a few more mechanics. One of them, he'll hold his hand up in the air and then kind of not chuck it down to the ground, but like this one right here. As you can see, he has his hand upwards and he pulls down on it. That will fire projectiles into the air that will randomly target people and do damage to them. And as you can see, it creates a flak damage effect. That flak damage will follow you. So definitely keep that in mind. It can do a good amount of damage, and it will kill your Tenno relatively quick, especially if you don't have weight bounds unlocked. Now after you destroy all the limbs, he'll go into a 40-second pulse-in phase. During that 40 seconds, he'll be calling in all Vomulist around him to heal him. What you'll want to do is kill them in any way you can. If you're running the Martyr Eye tree, instead of using your amp, which would take away Void Strike stacks, you can use Blazing Trail, which every time you Void Dash, You will leave behind for 14 seconds a fire trail. When fully ranked, will do 1,000 damage every second before armor. So it will do a little bit less on the actual bombs and such, but it'll still give enough to kill them, especially if you have multiple people with a lot of fire around. Now, when you do kill the Eidolon, you want to make sure, as you can see, we keep the lures the closest as we can to him. This is in order to actually capture him. If the lures are too far from him, you will not get a capture and you will get a kill, which then you will not be able to advance to the next Eidolon. You will now take your shard and you'll come over to the center point right here. It's always good to put a waypoint down there, just in case. Now you'll see I didn't do that till later on after it took a while. Now being that I'm using Martyrai and I have the Void Strike, I will go ahead and get myself back into Void form and continue to charge stacks. For every second that I'm spent stealth, I will gain a 12% damage buff. This will last for the next 8 attacks and does not refresh until I have used all 8 attacks. It will continue to build off of where I have left off. Now this is very important to note, as if you only have a few stacks left and you've already destroyed all limbs and he's doing the 40-second pulse in phase, which all Eidolons will do it for that amount of time. You'll want to make sure you get yourself back up to 8 stacks as soon as possible. You can shoot him without it doing damage and reduce your stacks, so you can bring yourself back up to 8 stacks. Now, as I said, the only situation I would do this in is a situation where you're not running a min-maxed set organized group. You're running a very casual run where you're all just having fun, chilling, and not really caring. In a min-max setting, it would be a completely different situation, and I will have a walkthrough guide on that very soon. But as you see there, the Eidolon just stomped his foot down. Now this has a chance of doing one of 2 things. Spawning those beams of light, which you'll see indicated by beforehand when he does it by a orange cloud on the ground, or he will do what is averagely a 5 pulse knockback effect, which what you'll want to do for that is jump in the air and then aim glide, fall down on the ground, jump back up and aim glide, and keep doing that through all the pulses. Now sometimes it can, what we like to call around here, feature out, which aka is known as bugging out, and do more than 5 pulses. I've seen up to about 10 pulses at one time. It can make the phase go, or make the second Eidolon cap take extremely long. So if you're really good with your shots, you can destroy the limb while it's in the air, and such like that. If you're down to that point where you just have to destroy the limbs, the limbs are a great way to break mechanics and stop them from actually completing one. It is an amazing way to do it. Now, pretty much going through here, there really isn't too much different from that. He will also spawn a disco ball of life, as I like to call it. It'll usually spawn above his head, and I say usually. Sometimes it'll spawn in the ground and such, and then there's the disco ball of death right there. It'll sometimes spawn in the ground, and it's very annoying as it's so hard to avoid. It is very hard to avoid. Outside of those effects, he really doesn't do too many different things. On occasion, he'll pulse out a orange bubble around him. You'll want to be inside that bubble to damage him. If you're outside of that bubble, he will be immune to any damage that you do to him. Stay out of the beams of light. They do astronomical amounts of damage to you. Void form during every magnetic pulse phase, like you see right here. Pretty much all the standard stuff. When it comes down to Eidolons, they only do add in a few mechanics to each one, and then they change around the mechanics that were pre-existing. So you get a different experience for every Eidolon, but really at the end of the day, it's the same thing over and over again. Once you've done it enough, you'll fully realize that you'll learn the mechanics, how to avoid the damage, and you really won't take too much damage as a whole. So here we're going to work on the head, keep ourselves close. Now, as you see there, I'm out of Void Strike stacks. That's because, like I said earlier, you want to be paying attention to them. I only had 2 stacks left when I was charging, so it only gave me 2 shots, which is not worth it, because I knew I wasn't going to get a 1-shot first off. And yeah, so what I wanted to do was below those 2 stacks, and during that 40-second phase, regen my stacks for an 8 charge. For either doing the maximal amount of damage that I could do to the Eidolon given the circumstances, or to have additional charges left for the 3rd one. Now you come over here, you'll go throw in your shard here for the last one and do the same process, jump back into Tenno form, and let those stacks build. Now on the 3rd one, you will spawn a lot of electrical damage. There will be little bubbles, as you can see right there, that spawn on the ground. Those will do damage to your Tenno. It does about 300 damage every time it hits. So it could be very, very rough on you. Same with the lures and such. Now here, we're just going to keep rotating through on the exact same thing, keeping a note of those bubbles and the extra damage that they're actually going to be doing. Now you may be wondering why I single fire shoot at the head here. With the 1, 2, 3, it has a sniper fire on it that's single target, and it has a good crit chance, 50% base crit chance with the highest crit damage multiplier. Now the reason why I use that is so that I can proc my arcane or my virtuous shadow, which, as you can see, you can also proc by dashing into the head there. Now you'll see on the screen there it says 60%. That is 60% extra crit chance. Now it is not a flat 60%, but it is a 60% of whatever your current crit chance is. With the secondary fire, you go up to about a 47% chance to crit, so you have a high chance of critting and doing the most amount of damage that you can do with it. I have tried other arcanes out, such as the one that increases damage on like the 30% damage increase and all that. I wasn't as big of a fan as with this one. It's very easy to proc. If it doesn't proc off of dashing in the head, as you can see, you just drop into or you just use your one ability or your primary, and you can get easy procs on it. Now, with this Eidolon, like I said, there's just a lot of incidental damage going around. You have flat clouds going, you have green patches on the ground, which do a lot of damage if you're standing in them. It can kill lures very fast if they don't have a blessing on them. You have those purple portals also, which those purple portals will make Vomulist immune to damage, and they also spawn Vomulist. So with those Vomulist being out, he has a chance whenever you break a limb, or deplete his shield, I should say. Whenever you deplete his shield, to call them in to regenerate his shield, in which he will channel onto them and be immune to damage, regenerate his shield. You'll have to kill the Voms in the area, and after killing the Voms, then he'll be vulnerable to damage, and then at that point you'll have to retake down the shield that generated. The Voms can channel in from a good distance, and there's usually one overcharged Vom as well, which is a Vom with overshields. They are a huge pain to kill, so definitely be sure to get on them as soon as possible. As you can see there, I was trying to see, well, maybe I could kill the portal with my blazing trail, but unfortunately was not able to, so I did have to use stacks there. But with this being the last Eidolon, it's not a big deal to have to use your stacks. Not at all. Just make sure, as I said before, that you actually will be able to start out on that Eidolon with full stacks. Now here I was able to find the Volt shield, even though he didn't mark it. I do usually prefer Volts mark their shields. and I can get some decent damage in on the Eidolon. So this group, for a public group, was very unique. It had 3 Trinities and a Vault in it. Damage taken was pretty much nothing whatsoever because we had 3 Trins with Blessing. It was very nice. This was a very chill and enjoyable run. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below if there is anything else that you would like to see out of these teaching videos, if you enjoyed this teaching video, if you learned anything from it even. We will have a Vault, Chroma, and Haro video coming out soon as well for the exact same types of situations. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see a Limbo video as well. I've seen Limbo ran really good, but I'm on the fence about it because I really just feel like it's one of those roles that aren't truly needed but are nice to have. But anyways, be sure to follow me on any of my social media networks for updates on when I do post up new videos. Also be sure to follow me on my Twitch channel. I do live streaming on there. But I do hope you all take care, stay safe, stay humble, be open, and as always, never stop searching. Peace, everybody.